Android and iPhone users welcome. BlackBerry and Windows Phone users, we will accept you. The podcast going beyond the headlines. This is the Gooplycast. Now the host, Matthew Carter.
Hello, everyone, and you're listening to the Gooplycast. Welcome. If you're watching us live on Periscope, Twitch, or Gooply.com, thank you for joining us. And if you're watching us or listening to us after our live show, thank you for spending some of your time with us. I'm your host, Matt Carter. With me today is Matt Evans. Hey, Matt.
Hello.
Roy Slepinski. Hey, Roy.
What's up?
And Tim Van Claveren. Hey, Tim.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about the Apple high-speed event where they announced the HomePod Mini and a slew of new iPhone 12 models, which, as an Android user, I was particularly excited about their presentation because I thought, I don't know, everything they announced today was like really high quality and like compelling. And if I was an Apple fan or someone thinking about switching over to Apple, I was enticed, I guess I would say. How do you guys feel about the Apple event today? What are your guys' impressions?
I was really impressed with it. I thought it blew Google's event, and Google's phones right out of the market right there. I mean, even with the iPhone Mini that they announced at the end of the original iPhone, I feel like that's the same price point as the iPhone, or excuse me, as the Pixel 5. And the specs are so much better. The quality is so much better. And you get a strong ecosystem with it as well for the same price that you're paying for a Android phone that doesn't have half the features that you get there.
Yeah, because Apple made the iPhone 12 mini the same as the flagship iPhone 12 with really no losses in quality or features except for the screen size.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's great for people, obviously, who want a flagship device, but not a giant phone screen in their pocket. I know, Tim, you were talking about that, and that's like the perfect size for you because you miss smaller phones.
Yeah, I miss like the iPhone 4, 5. I miss those tinier phones. Don't get me wrong, I do like bigger phone screens, like the OnePlus 7T screen size is nice, but I want to go back to small screens.
How do you type on a small screen like that? That's my biggest question.
Yeah, that would be my question too. Like going from a big screen to a smaller screen, that would just be, kind of a lot for me. I was thinking of actually going from the iPhone 11 Pro Max down to the smaller 11 Pro, 12 Pro versus the 12 Pro Max. But that's one of the things that I worried about was, texting and typing on it being a smaller phone.
For me, I really liked something called the Google Nexus 5, which was a 5-inch screen Google phone. It was small.
I have one in my closet.
I loved the texture and I loved the size. It was like perfect for my hand size. So I look fondly on phones that aren't necessarily small, but are, I don't know, ergonomic for my hand. Because like typing with one hand was like doable on that phone. I feel like on the bigger phones, you kind of got to get two in.
So that's one of the things I'm excited about with the new form factor on the iPhone 12, with it having the flat sides. Like I feel like holding it's going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be a little more ergonomical, at least the way that I loved the way the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5 felt in my hands with that boxy edge shape, the way that, propping it up to watch something was a lot easier. I feel that this new form is definitely going to be more ergonomical, as you would say.
Mm-hmm. With the square form factor, you were saying that you like the iPhone 4. With the latest iPhones, are they like rounded all the way around? Because the newer Samsung phones are like rounded edges and like super slippery, I feel like. Is that how the newer iPhones are?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the iPhone 10, of course. Matt's got the newer version, but if you can tell, this is not a flat edge right here. It is a rounded corner, a rounded frame.
Okay, that's not as steep of a curve as I was thinking, but it still looks kind of sleek.
It's not nearly as bad as some of the curved screens that you'll get on Android phones, but you try to stand that thing up against something unless it's in a case, and it's gonna slide right down.
Oh yeah. And then with the square the new square form factor, you actually have something to hold on to. You have actual edges. Yeah, here they are on the screen. Very reminiscent of iPhone 4. I'm surprised they went back to this design, and a lot of people seem really excited for this.
I think part of it plays into the nostalgia. The iPhone 4 was the first iPhone that went beyond the AT&T carrier, so it was the first phone that really opened up to multiple characters. And I think the 4S was the first one that went to T-Mobile. So I mean, that form factor was the first form factor that opened up to, and Sprint too. Sprint had the 4S as well. It was the first form factor that really opened up to the public because everybody could get one. So I feel like there's some nostalgia that goes along with this form factor.
So the one thing that I hope they learned from the iPhone 4 is the antennas. Because the one problem they had with the antennas in there, if you put your hand down over here on below where the antennas were, you didn't get as good as service. And that was kind of a big problem for people. And one of the ways to get away from it was using a case. But when you put your hand up to it and you push pressure to it, it blocked the antenna signal from going out. Now, obviously, I'm sure they fixed that issue, but that would be the one thing that I would look forward to as well, to them fixing and making sure they didn't, duplicate that mistake again in the iPhone 12, going back to this design. They obviously fixed it in the 4S, I think, and the 5, but yeah, I mean, 5G antennas now are different in there as well. So I'm hoping they did a good thorough testing of it before,
Yeah, I do remember them having, at least with the iPhone 4, like you would try and make a phone call or you would try and answer a phone, and just by holding it, it would drop the call, especially on AT&T.
Yeah, and so their solution to that was to give them a case, basically. So they gave everybody a free case, essentially, to make up for it, so that they could do it. So,
if you remember the Verizon version, the CDMA version of the iPhone 4, you had to get a special case that was made for the CDMA versus the GSM version because the antennas were in a separate place on the iPhone 4 for Verizon. I want to say it was slightly taller, so they moved the mute switch up a little bit, so they moved the antenna bands up a little bit. It could be the other way around, but I'm pretty sure they moved it up. And I never had an issue with my iPhone 4 from Verizon having antenna issues. And for the good chunk of time when I first got it, I didn't have a case on it. So I want to say they fixed that antenna problem with the CDMA version.
I do remember at least from what I remember, there wasn't as much frustration with the Verizon version as there was with the AT&T version.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people were switching over to Verizon because they were just, I just need consistent calls and I want my phone to be a certain way. But now they're back with a new antenna in a form factor that used to have antenna issues, which is funny. And now, so all of the iPhone 12s have 5G in them. There's 4 iPhone 12s. There's the mini, iPhone 12 mini, the regular standard iPhone 12, as well as the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Max.
And look at this. So look at this. So this is the two phones side by side. So the big news is obviously the iPhone 12, and then that's the iPhone mini. And I not particularly liking smaller phones. Yeah. I think that iPhone mini looks absolutely amazing.
It does. It just looks like a regular phone.
I know, but
it doesn't look too small.
Yeah, it doesn't look too small, but with the display and everything and the full on no Touch ID or anything like that, because the iPhone SE obviously has Touch ID and uses the hardware of the iPhone 8, but like this is their first, kind of budget phone that's not really, well, it's a good price for it, but it's not really like, it's not really like a low end device for it.
I think we should also look at the prices in addition to
the
sizes, because that's important to kind of gauge the quality that you're getting in the form factor that you're getting.
Yeah, it's important to note it's not budget pricing for the iPhone Mini by any means. They do still have the iPhone SE available, but that iPhone Mini, iPhone 12 Mini is, I would consider budget for Apple and what we're used to seeing for Apple. The fact that you're getting, this year's processor, this year's basically everything, just in a smaller form factor for the price that you're getting it for $699. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal price. We're finally getting OLED screens in the iPhone 12 line this year. Last year it was their what do they call it? Liquid Retina, which was still an LCD. Yeah. You're getting like double the brightness, double the nits on the iPhone 12, which is obviously because of the OLED that makes that possible. The contrast ratio, I can't remember if it was 3 million to 1. That was my biggest,
or 2 million to 1, I think.
2 million.
No, 2 million.
My biggest issue with the iPhone 11 last year, because I was considering upgrading from my iPhone 10, and I considered the iPhone 11, but my biggest thing was going from an OLED screen to a non-OLED screen, and not that it's always that easy to tell the difference, but finally having that OLED screen in the iPhone 12, the only difference you're going to miss between the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max is really just that camera technology that they're building into it.
I'm also very happy that they have OLED screens, because going from like the Samsung Galaxy S8, which has OLED, like I get used to the extra little battery life that it gets you, because OLED allows you to have pixels on the screen like individually controlled and then turned completely off if they're going to be black, so you can have like a really minimal display at some point, just like a clock or something like that. And only that clock with the minimal text is displayed, and then everything else can be black, and it winds up saving a lot of battery life. And you can get themes, at least on Android, that kind of take advantage of OLED screens. So it's cool to see Apple go in there.
We have a question on Periscope, and it says, is it in Lightning plugin? So I'm assuming is it a Lightning plugin? And it is. So it uses the Lightning plugin for the iPhone side, and then it also comes with a USB-C cord for high quality charging, for fast charging. But like they did with the Apple Watch, it doesn't come with the charging power brick for it, which I kind of found a little different, because like if you this is like if this is what you're upgrading to for Roy, for example, is upgrading from a iPhone 10 and he's going to go to the Pro Max, he's not going to have a charging brick for a USB-C because he's coming from an older version, so he's going to have the old standard USB cord. And he's going to have the old standard. He's not going to have the brick for it. So, like, they did it because of environmental, causes and stuff like that, But for people that are, upgrading like Roy, who don't actually have that, like, that's, I feel like a downfall.
I do, though.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, you do, but
that's an interesting question, though. But go ahead.
I mean, anybody who has an older iPhone from the iPhone 10 up that wanted fast charging, you would get that the iPhone plug-in power brick that would be USB-C to Lightning port, and that way you could take advantage of the fast charging. So, I mean, I have a couple of those power bricks in my house. Actually, I have 3 of them in my house that I can use for fast charging. I don't even use the regular USB Lightning cable unless I'm plugging it into my MacBook for whatever reason.
Wait, Apple already had a Lightning to USB-C cable?
Yeah, well, they use it. They've had it since the iPhone 10.
Oh, interesting. Okay, then it's not like
they didn't include it in the phone though. in the
Correct.
box.
Oh, okay.
You still got the regular USB to Lightning. It's also important to point out, if we're talking about charging, that they brought Magsafe back they brought it to the iPhone, and they're making chargers that have there's a magnetic coil in the phone, the back of the phone, and the charger, the wireless charger, will magnetize to the phone, as well as some other accessories. But for charging purposes, we'll talk about that. It'll snap magnetize to the back of the phone to charge it at 15 watts. And I think it's really important because I feel like they kind of spend a lot of time on there. And their MagSafe charger, you can buy it off the Apple Store right now. It's $39, which is not unreasonable for a wireless charger to spend $39 on it. But I think that Apple's going to train us to use that MagSafe charger on the back of our iPhones, because it's rumored that next year there will be no charging port on the iPhone, and it'll just be wireless. And if you look at that MagSafe charger, one of the biggest problems that you could have with wireless charging is you want to use your phone in bed, but you got to charge your phone. There's no good way to do that. I mean, you could buy chargers that stand up, but regularly, most wireless chargers, you lay your phone down the charger, you go to bed, you're good to go. But if you want to watch something on your phone or utilize your phone in your hands, you can't with a wireless charger. With this MagSafe charger, when it's magnetized to the back of your iPhone, you can now all of a sudden move your iPhone around, and it's still got the charger safely tagged to the back of the phone. And I think Apple is going to use this to train us to not plug our phones in port-wise. And it's really a smart way to train us, probably a year or so in advance before they take the port away.
I would be very, very surprised if they took the port away. Are there any accessories that you plug into the iPhone port? Like, they announced a bunch of new camera features with this new generation of iPhones, at least with the Pro and the Pro Max, that would lead me to believe that you'd want to plug in maybe a hub of some kind, like a media transfer hub or something like that.
But you can AirDrop to your MacBook.
So I disagree with this with Roy. Roy and I have a disagreement on this part because Apple CarPlay is still requires a USB cable in order for most cars now out there. And there's still quite a few of them that haven't upgraded to the wireless charging because they have to have basically a Wi-Fi signal coming out for your iPhone. And a lot of car manufacturers still aren't on board with that. Mazda is for one of them. We have two cars. We have a Mazda and a Mini Cooper. The Mini Cooper has wireless CarPlay, but the Mazda does not. So I think it's still going to be quite a while, especially with CarPlay being out there, before they actually take that away. I think it could still be a few years from now, just to get these car manufacturers to upgrade to wireless CarPlay in order to make that work.
And I think that makes sense because while I would definitely like and could see all phones, or at least all high-end phones, going no charging port. I think that with the prevalence of driving and using your phone as your navigation device and having to have a cradle and navigation taking up not an insignificant amount of battery, and usually people wanting to plug it in while you're driving, plus the various amounts of delivery driving services that exist out there. I think that wireless charging in the car would be an important feature to get right that I don't think is there yet. And I think people in general probably aren't ready to have wireless charging be a thing yet. But
I think they're trying to push the envelope, though. I mean, think about when they took the headphone jack away. Nobody would have, unless you were intently paying attention to the rumors, you would not have in your right mind thought in 2017 that we would have lost the headphone jack, and everybody quickly followed suit. Apple's been known to push the industry into new territory, and it would not surprise me in the least bit. I get what you're saying, Matt, and I'm not saying you don't have a valid point. I'm just saying it would not surprise me in the least bit if Apple went ahead and went portless, at least maybe on a Pro line of their phone next year, if not all of them. I mean, my mother-in-law just bought a Toyota Sienna this year, and it's wireless CarPlay. I mean, so they're there.
I'll bet you $20 that next year is still gonna have a charging port on all the phone chargers. Take that bet with me.
Interesting.
$20.
You're on $20.
So now here's the other thing that I'm going to mention too about the charging. So the the maintenance of the phone still needs to be availability for techs to go in there and do firmware updates for people who are having software glitches and stuff like that. And if you take away that charging port, there's no way for them to do it. So I think they still need to perfect the software updating for another alternative method for them to distribute software to it rather than just over the air. Because if you go in and you have a brick phone or something like that, they have to be able to essentially download the software back to the phone in order to try and unbrick it. And I think that's still a necessary port for right now. And I would say it wasn't really necessary for the headphone jack as much as most people wished it was, but you still need it for support services as well. And I don't see that happening by next year, but I'll take that bet with you, Roy.
Fair enough. I have one last question, or actually we can kind of tie this in with maybe the camera things that happened with the new iPhone. So if they did drop something like the charging port, I mean, I guess if it was like on a premium model or something like that, where the new iPhone 12 Pro and Max can shoot in these like super high resolutions, if you want to transfer that data, you'd hopefully ideally have some kind of like fast wireless transfer, because I don't think that.
Well, and like Roy says, they have Airdrop, and Airdrop, if you're in the Mac ecosystem, Airdrop is really convenient. Like I can drop photos from my iPhone directly to my computer through Airdrop, and that helps out a lot. When I'm transferring files and stuff like that. But also everything's uploaded into the cloud as well. So like I store all my photos up in the cloud, and it automatically syncs with iCloud. So it's actually already in my Photos apps when I update to the phone or to the computer.
You can access your iCloud photos from whether it be a PC or a Mac. I mean, it's just another way for them to push iCloud. It's another way to push you more into their ecosystem, I should say. So that portion of it's already available.
Okay.
Being able to access your files on your computer or whatnot. I would say at this point, the only good point that would make me hesitate whether or not Apple would drop the Lightning port is what Matt said about some sort of service port. And who knows, maybe you walk in with a bricked iPhone and Apple's like, sweet, here's a new iPhone. I mean, I've walked into an Apple store with back with the iPhone 4, the the home button, like once in every 100 clicks or so, it wouldn't work. And I walked in there and I talked to the genius that I had my point with, and I explained what was going on. And the first thing he asked me is, have you done a software reset to see if it was a software problem? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, do you have everything backed up to iTunes? Because this was before iCloud. And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, let's swap out your phone. And it was just as easy as that. It wasn't a, hey, let's figure out what's going on here.
You got a friendly genius. Some of them really dig into it.
So they have a culture change with how they do customer service. I'm just saying, I get it. I could still see it.
They still have to have a way though to unbrick that iPhone.
I would not be surprised if Apple had some kind of like over-the-air, like Apple Light operating system that they could get into.
That's what it sounds like to me that they're going to be working on next.
But I still think that that's a few years off. I don't think that that's gonna pop in, right away. So
can't wait till next year. It'll be hilarious.
So I'm gonna put up the specs for the camera here.
Yeah.
So 12 megapixel camera, ultra wide and wide cameras. I mean, these specs are just, if you look at them, pretty amazing. Deep Fusion though is really cool, and with the new Apple RAW photo, basically taking raw photos with it is, I think, a big thing for photography. And people who are really into editing their own photos and stuff like that. So, just some of these specs for this type of phone, I think, are amazing overall. And then also they announced for the video camera that you'll now be able to do HDR video recording which is I think the first in a smartphone, is what they said. So that was really cool,
especially specifically for Dolby Vision. I'm not sure that exists.
Yeah, Dolby Vision. Yeah, and it's it's at 30 frames per second. But for specs, I mean, and again, you're getting this on the iPhone Mini as well, not just the iPhone 12. So these specs are really, really kind of amazing for, I think. And then the true depth camera is amazing as well. And then obviously you get the facial unlock system on every one of these iPhones too, which, might add, Google did not launch on their iPhone or their Pixel 5.
Can we also talk about the presentation that Apple gave? It's not what they announced, but like the presentation itself and their camera work and their sets and whatnot. And it was just, it was top notch.
Ridiculous.
I know. And I was talking to Tim about this too, because they were talking about how they do feature films on an iPhone. And I'm wondering, like, did they shoot this all on an iPhone? Because they always talk about how they're doing
iPhone 12 Pro Max. That's what they shot it on. I'm willing to put money on that. Actually.
But they didn't announce it though. That's the thing though. Like, I feel like if they announced that this was shot on an iPhone 12, then why didn't they announce it? Like, I feel like
I guess that makes sense. They'd want to show that off.
They'd like to show that off, and they didn't do it. So my idea is that they shot part of it on an iPhone 12, and they shot some of it on, a more professional camera setup, and then obviously they had drone shots. But I think they did show a drone, like when they were talking about the feature films, a drone with an iPhone built into it, and it was flying up with it, and I thought that was really cool. So.
One of the demos they gave of filmmakers using the tech was they had this crew in the back of a truck chasing, a bunch of running horses. And they had like an iPhone mounted underneath the truck catching stuff on the bottom. They had like a guy or two in the back of the truck catching stuff on iPhone as the truck was going forward. And then, I think they had like a drone like swirling around the area capturing stuff. It was pretty impressive. If I was a content creator, I think I would be super excited for the Pro versions of the iPhone, because they seem really, really powerful.
So DJI makes a lot of drones, but I got this gimbal, and it's actually on Amazon Prime, I think, for $100.
Plus,
but this is yes, it is Prime Day. It's on sale for like $100. But this is the DJI Gimbal 3, I think it's called. I don't really see it, but it's really cool. And you put your iPhone in it, and it helps focus your iPhone and everything and stuff like that. And
has image stabilization, so like while
image stabilization. And the cool thing about this too is when you put your iPhone into it and you use their camera app, you can tap on your photo just like you can on drones, and it will follow you. So if you're doing like a video or something like that, and you're moving around, like the gimbal will move based on your movements. And I thought that was really cool.
Lock itself on you as you're moving around, and then so it has like a motor in there that moves itself around, following you. That's cool.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and it obviously it's stabilization. So $100, I think, on $103 or something like that on Prime right now, if you have it. But it's definitely a good tool for content creators. So, so I think we should talk about the iPhone 12 Pro now, because we kind of talked about the, unless there's any questions about the 12 and the 12 Mini.
Nope. They're all so similar. When talking about one, we're like almost talking about all of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously with the 12 Pro, you get an extra camera.
And the
LiDAR, slightly bigger screen.
In the Pro Max version, you don't get that.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, in the Pro Max.
Yeah, Roy keeps pointing that out to me. I'm surprised he forgot about it.
And one or both of them do RAW, the Apple like RAW capture.
I think they both
do. I think they all do. It's not in the 12 though.
I don't think it's in the 12.
No, it was in the Pro presentation specifically.
Okay. So if you look at it though, like you can see from here, the notch, you can tell the notch if you have a previous iPhone 10 or 11, you can tell that the notch is a little smaller, which is kind of cool. I wish they kind of would have gone away with it, but
would you have preferred like the pinhole that I've seen on other phones?
Yeah, I think that would have been a cool.
The problem with that though is they have. I mean, it's more than just a camera and that notch. They have everything true depth wise to make Face ID work. I think that they could have done a lot to have it. There's the new technology of under display cameras that's starting to come out, and I think that that's probably a direction Apple will go in. They'll put all of the sensors that they need specifically for Face ID. And maybe even the true depth stuff, and they'll have it under display and maybe end up having everything under display, or just have a pinhole cut out for the main selfie camera. And then when you need to use Face ID, it'll black out the part of the screen like where the notch is or something like that to allow you to do the face unlock. And then if you were doing portrait mode, it might black out the part of the screen that it needs for the true depth sensor. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple keeps the notch there until they can go 100% full screen with cameras under the display.
I see. So you're thinking it'll be a complete transition away from any notch whatsoever if they were going to do any kind of transition?
Correct. I think that they will, between now and the time that Apple perfects it, because Apple's not going to roll it out until they're 100% sure that the user experience is going to be amazing for it. That they will continue to use the notch and maybe shrink the notch as much as they can. But I think that their next step is going to be eliminating the notch and have everything be under display.
And I could agree with that too. I think that that's probably the direction that Apple will go. So let me pull up the screen here, though. I might add that it's waterproof, by the way, IP68.
With the new tech for screen protection, which is
and the frame on it is not aluminum like it is on the 12 and the 12 Mini. It is surgical grade stainless steel.
Yeah, and it looks amazing. Like
that gold. I would never get a gold phone myself, but that gold looks so pretty with that stainless steel.
My wife is actually talking about getting the gold version of the phone, which I think is really cool. She really likes the gold. She was hoping that this would have come in the Apple Watch version that wasn't like $700 or $800, but yeah, that gold is like, I mean, that gold is amazing, and I wouldn't get.
It looks like a bar of gold.
Yeah, it is definitely. I mean, if you want to show off your phone, I think that's the way you should go with the gold.
And I'm sure that's what Apple was thinking, where they're like, okay, we need something that's really visible and loud to differentiate these two phones from the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 at a glance, and they have this like beautiful reflective metallic technology.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So, and then as Roy was talking earlier about the form factor, like this, they kept both phones almost to the same form factor. I mean, there's a little discrepancy of it. I think the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a little taller and just slightly wider than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Once I get both my phones together, I'll do a snapshot of them to just kind of see how they are. But yeah, I mean, I was literally actually thinking about going down because I didn't really want a 6.7 inch screen. I felt like that was going to be a little too much for me. But since they kept the form factor the same, I'm definitely getting the Pro Max.
And why not get a bigger screen for the same, real estate size of the phone?
Yeah.
And they achieved extra screen real estate by really reducing the bezels on the sides of the phone. Is that right?
Yeah.
That was one of the ways, yeah. I'm sure that they gained some size by going with the squared off edges. I'm sure that helped them gain a slightly different form factor that lets them make the screen a little bit bigger. And then, like you said, eliminating some of the bezels as the screen technology, is getting better.
Yeah. Man. 2 million to 1 contrast ratio. So ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing.
I don't remember if they said that there was a fingerprint sensor in the power switch like there is on the newer iPad.
They did not announce that.
Oh, okay. I was kind of expecting to see that in these iPhones, but
yeah. I'm not bent out of shape. I mean, obviously, in a COVID world, that would be nice and all. But Face ID works amazing. I was surprised when the first time I found or tried Face ID on how damn near flawless it is, and it's working. I've never really had an issue with it outside of wearing a mask. I would be okay if they never brought back some sort of Touch ID sensor to the iPhone.
And I would be the same too. I mean, it is kind of a nice feature to have, but I think the face unlock is obviously the way to go. Even in a COVID era. One of the things they did do, so they didn't raise the price of the iPhone, of any of the iPhone models. They're pretty much all at the same price point they were before. I was hoping that they might have improved the price point for the quality of it, but instead of doing like a price adjustment, they gave you it in storage quality. So they upgraded the storage to 128 for the baseline model, which I think is great. The more storage you have on a Pro device, especially with the new recording features for HDR, and if you're really shooting videos on an iPhone, you want more space, and I think that you get that with that Pro device, and I think that the last year's model should have started at 128. But I mean, they took out the AirPods, they took out the power brick. The packaging is lighter, so they're saving some money on quality. So I think that we got that back in storage pretty much rather than a price adjustment in a downplay. So,
what's your current storage on your iPhone 11 Pro Max? Where are you sitting?
I think I have 17.7 gigabytes left.
I'm currently using on my 10 39.7 of my 64. So I mean, I could comfortably live with a 64 gigabyte phone and still be okay. But I am definitely happy to go to the 128 gigabyte because I regularly will download programs that I'm watching so that if I'm at work, I don't have to worry about streaming. Not that I don't have unlimited data, but I don't have to worry about streaming qualities. I can definitely download more.
I have unlimited data, so I don't necessarily worry about the downloading of the content. I don't download movies. I think that the most things if I download podcast, but I usually download like a couple episodes or so at a time, just because sometimes with ferry crossings from the island to Seattle, like I'll sometimes, lose service out there. So having those downloaded is helpful. But and then I usually have like a playlist downloaded just in case I don't have service somewhere and I need to listen to something. But that's kind of how I just kind of focus on it, and keeping the storage. And like I said, I still have 17 gigs left. And then my photos automatically upload to iCloud and then download the lower resolution quality. And then if I need to get a higher quality of it and I click on it, it downloads it in like a few seconds.
And you pay for the extra storage space on iCloud, right?
Yeah, so I pay the $10 a month, and I have the 2 gigabytes or 2 terabytes of storage space. So
I think for anybody who doesn't have the extra capacity for iCloud, that all this extra storage is just going to give them, more room to carry their life and all their pictures.
I've had it for years because I mean I have multiple devices, so my backups usually take up a lot of space. For my devices when I back them up, my iPhone, my iPad. I don't back up my MacBook or anything like that, but yeah.
And I think that iCloud gives you 5 gigs of storage space like for free, and then you pay for additional storage after that. And as the cameras and video recording capabilities on these phones get like more and more, and the apps take more advantage of all this capacity, that I could see people maybe considering to go with iCloud. So I think any little bit that Apple can do to kind of make people feel like iCloud is a good idea, will get them into the services.
Yeah, no, and I think that the overall storage sizes are good. So 128 for the entry level, 256 for the medium one, and then 512 for the bigger one. I think getting the entry level device and using the higher iCloud storage, is a good option. So
I think it's good for the entry level to be, 128's pretty good for entry level. On my phone, the entry level one for it was 128, which I was like, I'm never going to fill that up. But it's really nice having this extra storage space if I ever do need it. Like, I can download a ton of episodes and not have to worry about it at all. Like,
yeah,
it's very nice.
128 seems like so much.
Yeah.
You have to download a bunch of extra like Netflix movies and like TV shows, and but hey, it's there in case you want to go crazy.
So Roy and I are already talking. We've been talking about what models we're going to get. We're both going to get the Pro model, the Pro Max model, and then we're obviously getting the blue one. I tried to get him to get a different color because I already have the blue, but he's going to get the blue too.
For the record, I haven't actually 100% decided on whether or not I'm going to get the blue. It's either going to be the. Can you put those colors back up one more time?
Yeah,
blue looks so good.
The blue.
I love the blue, and I have the blue watch, so I've already claimed the blue. You can have any of the other colors.
Wow.
So, I mean, with the exception of that short stint when I had the 8 Plus that my mother-in-law has, where I got the silver one, I've had a black iPhone since my first iPhone, and with the exception of the 5C that I had there for a short while as well. Maybe I'll go with the silver one. Maybe I will stand out from Matt and not get the blue one and go with silver.
I think you should go with the silver.
I mean, do you guys look at like the color? Has there ever been a blue iPhone before?
No.
There was
yes.
with that.
The 5C had one.
Okay.
And I think the 11 had a blue. It was a light sky blue, wasn't it?
I think so, maybe. No, they didn't have the 11. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, the 11 did, yeah.
Look that up. Because I look at that color and I think, I see the silver, the gold, and the black, and then I see like the one actual color, and I look at that and I say, that's how you tell that you have the latest iPhone. You get this color.
Yeah.
It's immediately distinguishable.
Yeah, but I think anybody who has a squared off iPhone is going to know that, or anybody who sees you have a squared off iPhone is going to know you have the latest iPhone.
There's that too.
And I think you should get the silver. The silver really looks good.
You just don't even have the same exact one.
No, I'm not actually just saying that. Like, if I wasn't getting the blue, if the blue wasn't released, I would probably get the silver. That would be my second choice because it just like, I don't know, the color of it just looks amazing. I think overall, with the finishing on the sides and stuff like that.
So the reason, because I had the silver in the iPhone 8 Plus, and when I got my 10, because I was tired of having space gray this, space gray that for my iPhones, I wanted something to switch it up. But I really enjoyed the white iPhone 8 Plus, and the only reason I didn't get a white or silver iPhone 10 was with the all screen front. I thought that the white clashed with the front. When I was looking at the photos of it, I've kind of gotten over that. I would definitely be more willing to look at getting a silver white. I'm just going to call it white. I don't know why they call it silver. It's white. I don't know why they call it graphite. It's black. It's never been space gray. It's never been gray. It's always been black. Come on, Apple. I don't know. Maybe I'll go with the white one. I mean, let's face it. I'm going to slap a case on that thing, and the only thing that anybody's ever going to see is the colored camera bump anyway.
Does that mean that both of you will have to upgrade your phone plans to take advantage of 5G when?
No.
No.
T-Mobile offers 5G on everything.
Okay.
Yep. So I just have to point out that Verizon's had a big, and Roy and I think we're talking about this earlier, during the event, they had a big explaining their new 5G for it, and I think Verizon. It was like a big Verizon ad in the middle of the thing, which I thought was kind of weird. But I think it's just because they had to show off what their 5G network is, because there's been a lot of claims that it's not as fast and stuff like that, and they clarified it a little more, but I'm still kind of skeptical about the is it the ultra wide broadband?
It's the ultra wide band.
Ultra wide band.
The millimeter wave band, that's what it is.
Yeah, and so they announced that they have nationwide 5G, I think now, right, Roy?
So my whole take on this whole thing was if there was one thing that they really pushed out with the iPhone 12 family as a whole, it was, by the iPhone 12, it's 5G. And I feel that if they're pushing 5G, they have to showcase why. They have to sell you on 5G. Why do you want 5G? So they bring Verizon out, and Verizon has the strongest millimeter wave 5G. And if you've ever used a 5G phone on anything other than millimeter wave, or let's just say if you've used the low band, which is what T-Mobile has. T-Mobile has low band, and AT&T has low band, and it's the one that penetrates buildings and covers large areas. And you're going to get roughly the speed of LTE off of 5G. It's just the next generation of wireless network. It doesn't have to do with speed. It's just the next generation. And you're going to get more or less LTE speeds. It's not going to be nearly as congested because not as many people are on 5G right now. So you can get slightly higher, more consistently LTE, higher LTE band speeds, I should say. And I feel that if they bring Verizon, that has the strongest millimeter wave band, AT&T has a millimeter wave band, T-Mobile has a millimeter wave band, but Verizon definitely has the strongest millimeter wave band out there, which basically means you have to be in sight of a cell tower in order to take advantage of that millimeter wave band, which is going to get you that, up to 2 gigabytes per second download speed. You have to be within sight without anything blocking you or that cell tower in order to get. That's what ideal conditions are, by the way. They kept saying ideal conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be inside of the building. Millimeter wave will not penetrate a building, or at least it will barely penetrate a building. So I feel that they brought Verizon out on stage because Verizon has the best millimeter wave system, and they wanted them to showcase what 5G could mean to you under, and they kept saying ideal conditions, and they didn't really explain, in my opinion, what that meant and what the implications of millimeter versus non-millimeter wave band could be for the average consumer, because the average consumer in the US is only going to be on the low wave frequency 5G, which is not going to be a significant bump in speeds. You'll get a consistent speed and you'll get a slight bump, but it's not going to be anything that I think anybody's really hoping for, which is they kind of touched on that a little bit, but I feel that's why they brought Verizon out on. I feel that it was just Apple's way of trying to convince you why you should upgrade to 5G, and 5G will get there in a few years.
I think that bringing out Verizon gives legitimacy to their claims that 5G is going to be like really important, if not now, then in the future, and that Verizon, like the biggest cell phone carrier in the United States, or at least the most stable network carrier in the United States, is also trying to make stuff happen. Because they also demoed the new League of Legends game. They were talking about how fast 5G was going to be for gaming, how low latency it was going to be. Like it's the most transformative generational leap for cell phone carriers and networks that we've ever seen. And
they're not wrong.
No, I don't think that they're wrong. I just think that it's not there yet. So if people got
Correct.
an iPhone 5 for 5G today, that it's not going to give them basically much of what they displayed. They also talked about how they're going to partner with like stadiums and like large venues to enable those venues to have 5G and like more integrated experiences, faster experiences, and that kind of speaks to what we're talking about.
Some of you have been to PAX, right? Raise your hand if you've been to PAX.
PAX West.
Who here has tried to use their phone at PAX?
Yeah.
And who here has failed to be able to use their phone at PAX? And I think that's where they're talking about partnering with stadiums and venues to provide a better network where people because I mean, the reason you can't use your phone at PAX is because you have how many people packed into a 3-block radius trying to use data on their phones. It's not going to happen. It's just
Super
not. There's
congestion.
too much. There's just too much congestion, and I think that's what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, one of the stats that I've heard for 5G is that it's like it adds like 100 times the capacity of current 4G standards, which, given the speed that we already have with 4G, which has been good for streaming content we got out of 4G, like consistent streaming speeds, we got 4K out of 4G. So that level of quality spread out among more people simultaneously at big events and stuff is definitely a leap. But a lot of the other claims that they were making, we probably won't see until like 2 or 3 years down the road.
I personally, in my trials with 5G, I could consistently get 60 to 70 or 80 or so, somewhere in that range, megabytes per second down and up. And that was consistent. I can't get that consistently on LTE. My LTE is anywhere from 10 megabytes a second up to 80 megabytes per second based on network congestion and location. Every once in a while, if I was in the right location, I could get 200 some odd megabytes per second down on 5G, which is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, compared to LTE speeds. But what people need to understand about where 5G is now is you're going to get some consistent, slightly higher than LTE speeds on 5G, and that's all you're going to get.
5G is also meant for adding like Internet of Things devices, so all the new Alexa devices that are going into cars, all the new smart assistants that are going into cars, all the technology in like factories and all the technologies that they're giving to doctors to do like remote work and like remote surgery and remote diagnosis and stuff. So 5G is going to be big, and I'm really excited for it. And I think that if you're buying an iPhone now and you're not planning, because it's expensive, and you're not planning to get rid of it for a couple of years, you'll get all of the benefits that the 5G tech will add into it.
Definitely. There was a reaction video I was watching today, and they made a really good point that I wasn't thinking about earlier. Apple supports their products for roughly about 5 years or so that you're going to be able to upgrade your device, and I think that people who buy an iPhone typically hold on to their device longer than most Android users do. So
I've heard that same stat. Yeah.
Buying a 5G device right now, it's not going to hurt you. If you're buying a $700, $800 5G device, I mean, like I said, you're gonna see some improvements, but you're definitely future-proofing yourself. I mean, 5G is only going to get better day by day from here on out. So, if you're going to buy an iPhone, you're going to have it for the next 3 years. You're golden. I mean, you're good. Your 5G is only going to get better. You are going to reap the benefits in the end, and I think that that's a pretty good way of looking at it. You're future-proofing yourself.
Yeah, I agree. If you are looking to so Roy, you're in a position where your current iPhone is kind of, I don't know if breaking down is the right term, but not performing in the way that you'd like. It's dead. It's dead. So you are saying that not only is it worth upgrading to this new iPhone, at least in your particular case, but you also look forward to at least the features that are on it going into the future.
Definitely. I would say that if you have, unless you were a tech enthusiast like Matt is, if you had an iPhone 11 Pro, this year's probably not the year to upgrade. I'd probably say hold off a year or so. If you have a 10S, I think you're going to see a big enough boost in your CPU power. I think you're going to see a big enough boost in your GPU power, your camera capabilities, going with the wide and the ultra wide sensor on the 12, and then the ultra wide and telephoto on the Pro Max. With the 5G, I would say would be a worthwhile upgrade. The features that I'm getting iOS is iOS. My camera is not as good as the newer ones. I was just looking at pictures that my 10 takes and pictures that my Pixel takes, and it is a night and day difference. We went to the zoo the other day, and I packed both phones with me just so I could take photos on my Pixel, because what my 10 takes is for lack of better term, garbage compared to what the Pixel takes. And I know that the iPhone 11 Pro was on the same playing field with the Pixel 4. So I know that with the 12 Pro Max that I'm going to get picture quality that I want to take. I go out with my kids and I want to take pictures and stuff like that. Knowing the editing tools that are on there, I'm excited to play with that and see what that can do. I'm excited because that's what you're getting with the Pro line. You're getting this better camera package, and I'm excited to play around with that.
So one of the things that I saw talked about just a lot throughout the presentation was like the low light photography. I saw some, I haven't seen a lot of the Pixel footage of what their low light photography looks like, but the new iPhone low light photography was like really impressive. Like they zoomed in on a couple of the pictures and you could see like detail.
On the Pro models was it just, it's amazing what they did to that. And I think that's going to be a huge selling point for photography people, definitely, in getting it, because people go out there. I have a DSLR camera back there, and do I use it? No, because I have an amazing camera in my iPhone 11 Pro that pretty much does everything that camera can do.
Yeah,
and they're bringing that night mode to the iPhone 12. Whereas if I remember correctly, the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro series, it was only on the Pro series. They didn't have it on the regular 11 series. So you're gonna be able to get this amazing low light photography at all levels. I mean, granted, getting it on the Pro and the Pro Max, it's going to be better because of the extra sensors and whatnot. But they're packing that punch into all of them. I've seen the pictures of at least the 11 Pro series versus the Pixel, and they're neck and neck. I mean, you could probably do a blind taste test on the Pixel 5 or Pixel 4 and 11 Pro, and I don't think you could probably pick one out as which one is which. And it's really going to come down to personal preference of saturation and contrast.
I'm excited for Roy to upgrade because him and I talk daily, and he is always complaining about his iPhone 10. And I told him, I've been telling him for over a year that he should upgrade. But I'm excited that he's going to do it this year. And I hope he gets the silver, because I really want to see the silver.
Me too. Tim, are you going to get an iPhone this year?
No. I think I'm gonna stick with
let's think of that. Let's think of that a little.
You were interested in the Mini.
In all fairness, he has a company iPhone that he uses.
Yeah, well, I'll ask my company to buy me a 12 Mini, but
the Mini specifically, I tell him you're not asking for anything special. You just want the Mini.
It's the smallest of the iPhones. I mean, come on.
I'll send them the video and just be like, buy me this, and they'll be like, no.
You could tell Microsoft that you want an iPhone 12 Mini instead of a sweater.
So I think the last thing that we have to talk about is the HomePod Mini.
Most exciting tech at the presentation.
Hey,
look at that intro. Look at that intro on there.
It's a $99.99 speaker that actually looks like it's worth buying.
Actually, I think it's only $99. I don't think it's $99.
Apple doesn't do
They don't do the $99. It's $99 even, Matt. You are mispromoting this.
Not only am I mispromoting, it's cheaper than I would have imagined. That's hilarious.
It is
now you'll buy it, right?
Oh, I mean, clearly I have to pay for my mistake. I have to rectify that.
And here's the thing: you could get two of them. You could put one in one room and put one in the other room, and you can use it as an intercom.
I loved the intercom feature. I loved the away from home, send notifications from your iPhone to your house full of HomePods or a particular HomePod. I loved the individual, the unique voice recognition. So it recognizes each person in your home and can tell different. It can give each individual person different notifications based on whose voice it recognizes. It has waveguide technology to distribute sound all throughout whatever space you put it in, so you get a kind of sense of 3D audio. They automatically recognize. They have that spatial technology where if you like bring an iPhone close to it, they share data with each other. It just seemed super practical.
I like you can
and intuitive.
I like how you can put a bunch of them next to each other and like they can act as one giant speaker.
Yeah. So I'm actually thinking about doing that in my office. You can put two in there and you can use them for stereo sound. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually thinking about replacing, because I have a HomePod, an original HomePod over here, and I'm actually thinking about getting two minis, and then I can do stereo sound, which would be really cool.
Cool. And they detect each other. It sounded like they detected each other without any setup past putting them onto your account, presumably. But they will detect when they're next to another one and then pair automatically and play in stereo. So cool.
That just looks amazing, actually. I really like I really like that. I'm really kind of disappointed that I have a $399. $349, but
it's so much for $99.99 or for $99. Yes, but the HomePod that you have, that has a screen, like an actual.
No. It's the exact same version of this, pretty much, except for smaller.
Oh, that is interesting.
Let me see if I can. The HomePod Mini makes it more worthwhile to get price point wise. Like if it didn't have all the features that the Mini is bringing to HomePod, like if we were talking just what the regular HomePod had, if it was just a scaled down version of that, it would be worth it at $100. You throw in the fact that you can use it as an intercom, not just as an intercom, but hell, if my wife had an Apple Watch and she's out on a walk with the kids, I could send her a text message or call her or whatnot, but I could intercom to her. And it would come to her Apple Watch. It would come to AirPods. It'll come to
that's right.
Their phones as a notification, which is really nifty. I mean, as a smart home, as an integrated smart home speaker, that's a really cool feature. I mean, it allows us to be lazier, which is what having a smart home is all about.
Yeah, that's a dream.
It's neat. I love the fact that you can put them in the same room and they'll intelligently know that they're in the same room and they'll become left and right channels. I can love that you can put it in multiple rooms and they'll sync and play the same thing. The way that you can hand off what you're listening to on your iPhone. I mean, the whole
that's coming
all
soon.
Together. Sorry, that's coming soon. Coming soon. But I mean, everything that it does with itself and with your iPhone and with the ecosystem is amazing. And I think $100 it is, if you're going to use it as a smart home accessory, not just a speaker, you are definitely more than getting your money's worth.
Completely.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
And I'll just admit the HomePod, the original HomePod is $299 right now, but I paid $349 when I got both of mine because it didn't have a price adjustment at that point. But
early
I definitely think the HomePod Mini is a great audio speaker for the price, and I think it's going to really compete. If you really want that Siri experience and you want that Apple ecosystem, then this is actually the device for you. I would not buy a regular HomePod now. I would get the smaller version. Even if they came out with a newer version, I probably would still go with the smaller HomePod. Just because I like the way it looks. It's nice and small and it's not bulky, and this thing doesn't take up my whole desk over here.
It's like I never got why people would get a Google Home versus a Google Home Mini. I honestly just never got the point of it. Like the Google Home speaker versus the Google Home Mini speaker. I mean, I'm sure that the speaker quality is probably a little bit better on the Google Home, but I feel that people who buy a smart home speaker aren't necessarily audiophiles, and trying to get if they're an audiophile, they have the speaker that they're going to want to play music on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not buying a smart home speaker for the highs and the lows and the tones and whatnot. I mean, obviously you want to listen to music on it, you want it to sound good, and it's going to sound good.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Matt's right. Why would you ever buy a HomePod when you could get the HomePod Mini?
Yeah, you want convenience. That's why you'd be buying something like this. And if you can get decent sounding audio, this would serve your purposes great, especially if you have, and primarily if you have Apple tech. The Apple ecosystem seems to pair incredibly well with this device.
It's just too bad it doesn't come in blue this year, right, Matt?
It's okay. I'll settle for the white and the white and the black.
Are you going to get one white and one black and have them both in your room for audio left and right?
No, I would get the same color because that would not look. My wife would say something about that. She likes things to match, and everything. Some things in my office don't even match already, and she points that out. So,
so the thing that kills it for me, not kills it, but the thing that I want to see tested is so that it has this mesh on the outside that they said was good for distributing sound or not getting in the way or something. And then the waveguide technology, I don't know if they have that in other Apple devices. So I'll be curious to see how it actually winds up sounding in the end. And then I don't remember if they said if it was Bluetooth or not, if it had, I mean, I assume that's just...
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, it just, it connects to your ecosystem. You don't have to pair it with your phone.
Well, what if I have an Android phone? I want to pair it.
I'm sure you could probably pair it with your Android phone. But
I think the biggest question is why would you buy a HomePod Mini if you had an Android?
Or what if your friend comes over and wants to share music with you and wants to play their Spotify on it or something like that? And then you're like, okay, cool, connect to my speaker.
You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Oh my goodness.
So when we first moved into the house, we were actually gonna put up signs and say only iPhone users welcome and not have charging ports for any of the Android phones. But we didn't end up doing it because I couldn't find the number of letters for the letter board to do it. But that was gonna be it. So.
Super, super clever. I remember with this, the last thing I'll say about the HomePod is that now I remember that they were talking about services being enabled for the HomePod. And I don't remember seeing...
Yeah, so iHeartRadio, it's iHeart Music,
3 radio apps.
Radio.com, TuneIn, Pandora. You can do that all with the current speaker system now too.
And Prime Music. Prime Music will be part of that as well.
I was surprised. Yeah, Prime Music.
But notice no Spotify.
No Google Music.
I was just going to mention, did anybody catch the beginning of the keynote where Tim Cook talked about the security of the Apple ecosystem and the privacy? Like, it's just like, I feel like that's just a smash in the face for Epic Games, is like, we build our products on the Apple ecosystem for the quality and the privacy and the security. And I feel like that was just a slap in the face for.
Plus, it's the thing that Apple has, like, U.S. government is like, hey, unlock this phone for us. And Apple is like, nah, we care about security too much to do that for you. And then for the rest of your company, you're just like, we are the security company. This is what we're going to do. And then I feel like if you talk to anybody, they're like, what?
But if you think about it, government companies use iPhone because of their security. and then you have the government complaining that they can't get into iPhones for criminals because they're so secure. But the government mostly uses iPhones because it's secure. So I think it's a I just think it's crazy how
they want a backdoor
for both
they can access.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. They want a backdoor for them, not for everybody else.
I admire Apple's integrity in not wanting to back down on that. I mean, I also think that it's marketing fluff for them. I think that they do it more because they can stand up and be like, we're not willing to do that, and that's why you should have iPhone. Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for the fact that they think that that'll sell them more iPhones, they would, in a heartbeat, give a judge what the judge wants.
Well, and it's like they wanted them to to force Apple to go in and create a backdoor because they figured out a way to create a backdoor and to basically brutal force this iPhone to unlock it. And Apple said no, and they went to court and got a court order to try and get Apple to do it. And Apple again still said no. And but I think that's the case. Like when you make one modification for one, then where does it stop? So I feel like and they don't encrypt their iCloud backup, so they still get the iCloud backups, from there and stuff like that. So I commend Apple too for standing up and doing what's right, for privacy.
And let's face it, if a backdoor exists for the government,
other people are going to take it. Yeah, somebody's going to take advantage of it. So, and Apple is really quick to, like, if they find backdoors, they're really quick to shut them down. Or if companies out there try and find a way to brutally force the iPhone to unlock, then they shut them down too. So,
yeah, it's something that gives them differentiation in a sea of people compromising their business's integrity for people's data. So it's something that other companies, I hope, adopt, but we'll see.
We'll see. Time will tell. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, that was a lot of awesome Apple news today. A lot of great information. We have 2 iPhone 12 converts. No surprises there. And I was very impressed with the presentation, and we'll work on getting Tim's company to get him an iPhone 12 mini.
Can you talk your company into getting HomePod Minis for the office so you guys could use them as intercoms?
Yeah, that would be like a great intercom system for you guys there.
And then they can sponsor the show. Tie in that way. See what I'm saying?
That's fantastic.
Seems like no.
Don't want to be sponsored by an aerospace company.
So, Tim, did you want to give Microsoft a shout out for your shirt since they're not?
I haven't gotten it.
Okay, so tell them, and we'll map this clip out there, and we'll send it to them.
Microsoft. Come watch this entire show about Apple, where we talk about Microsoft. Part at the end.
If you give me a Christmas sweater, I will wear it, and I will talk about how great Windows is, and I will make a video about it.
Okay, there we go. So Tim wants a Apple sweater.
We'll do an entire
a Microsoft sweater.
You ruined my chances. No.
Sorry. I will admit, out of the most people that are on here, Tim is the most Windows friendly person. So I know we dissed Windows in the intro now too. So I don't think that's going to help us if they're going to go back and listen to this, and they're going to go, "Oh, Windows phone users."
Hey, we like the Windows phone.
Yeah. So now I believe on our next episode, since we weren't able to do it this time, you're going to have your iPhone completely in water on the next episode.
Yes. I will bring a cup of water to the next podcast if that will satisfy you guys.
Maybe we should get a Gooply sticker and like a bucket, and just paste the Gooply sticker on the bucket, and then that's what you dump it in.
Okay. So you want me to go like get a giant bucket from Home Depot or something?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Something I don't know, dramatic. You can dunk the whole phone into.
Just get a dunk tank.
A dunk tank, yeah.
And we can like throw balls
I'm gonna fit it in here, and we're just gonna put my iPhone on there, and then bam.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us on today's episode of the Gooply Cast. I've been your host, Matt Carter, and for Matt Evans, Roy Slapinski, and Tim Van Claveren, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.